Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're kicking off the Port City Fence Knowledge series by tackling a very specific coastal problem.
It's a problem that everyone from Leland to Wilmington sees. You get this beautiful white vinyl fence, and then one season later, it's green.
Right, the Wilmington green. It's that mix of salt, humidity, and pollen that just, well, it takes on everything.
Exactly, and vinyl is supposed to last 20, even 30 years with minimal fuss. But minimal fuss on the coast means something totally different.
So that's our mission today. We're going to simplify that fight. We've got Port City Fence's manufacturer-verified procedures right here.
Yep, we'll cover everything from a quick 10-minute weekly rinse to the more serious chemical treatments.
And we'll even get to the single most effective thing you can do to protect your fence before a hurricane.
It's all about staying ahead of the green. It's so much easier than fighting it once it's set in. All right, let's jump in.
Okay, let's start with the first line of defense, just routine maintenance. Our sources say stopping buildup before it starts is, well, it's everything.
It really is. And we're talking about a tiny investment, maybe 10 minutes a week.
Just 10 minutes.
That's it. And the most important task on that weekly list is a simple freshwater rinse, just with a garden hose.
And that's not just for dust and pollen, right?
Yeah.
It's the salt.
It's the fresh salt spray. That's the real enemy here.
Okay, so explain that.
Yeah.
Why is it so urgent to rinse off salt water? It seems harmless.
Well, this is where our coastal climate gets tricky. When that salt water sits on the vinyl and the sun beats down, the water evaporates.
And leaves the salt behind.
Exactly, but it leaves behind tiny, sharp salt crystals. They're abrasive. They create these microscopic scratches pitting all over the smooth vinyl surface.
Wow, so it's not just a film, it's actual physical damage.
It is, and that newly roughed up surface is like Velcro for mildew, for algae spores, for everything you don't want. It gives it something to grip onto.
And a quick rinse stops that whole process before it even starts.
Completely, before the crystals can even form.
That's a great tip. Okay, so after the rinse, what's next on the weekly checklist?
Just a quick visual inspection. Walk the fence line. Are the posts straight? Do you see any tiny black or green dots starting to form?
The early signs of mildew.
Yep. If you catch them then, when they're just pinpricks, you can literally wipe them away with a damp cloth. It's that easy.
So where do people usually miss something on that weekly check?
The base. They always forget the base of the fence. You have to clear away leaves, grass clippings, any mulch that's piled up against that bottom rail.
Because it traps moisture.
It traps moisture right against the vinyl. You're basically building a little incubator for mildew in the one spot the sun can't reach to dry it out.
Makes perfect sense.
Oh.
Okay, so that's the weekly prevention. Let's talk about the monthly task, the mild deep wash.
Right, for the general grime. This is super simple and safe. All you need is 1 tablespoon of a mild biodegradable dish soap.
Just regular dish soap?
Yep, put that in a gallon of warm water, then you apply it with a soft bristled brush. Something like a car washing brush works great.
And the technique for applying it is actually really important here, to avoid streaking. It was a bit counterintuitive.
It is. You always work from the bottom up.
See, that feels wrong.
I know, but if you start at the top, the dirty, soapy water runs down the dry sections of the fence and can leave streaks that are really hard to get out.
So you scrub from the bottom up?
And then you rinse thoroughly from the top down. That way all the soap and dirt just washes cleanly away.
Okay, preventative care is covered. But let's be realistic. Sometimes that green gets ahead of us. What happens when the simple soap wash isn't cutting it?
Now we have to escalate the treatment. For, light to moderate mildew, you can start with a green option, a simple solution of 1 part white vinegar to 3 parts water.
Just vinegar.
It's a mild natural acid, and it's a pretty decent fungicide. It works surprisingly well on early stage growth.
But for that really stubborn, blackish green coastal buildup, we need to bring out the heavy stuff, the manufacturer recommended recipe.
This is the formula that really works. It's potent, so you need to be careful. You'll need 1/3 of a cup of laundry detergent, like Tide.
Okay.
Then 2/3 of a cup of TSP, that's trisodium phosphate.
Right, TSP, I've heard of that for deck cleaning and things. What's it actually doing in this mix?
TSP is the workhorse. It's a powerful alkaline cleaner, a heavy-duty degreaser. It cuts through all the built-up grime and pollution.
Got it. So detergent, TSP.
1 quart of regular 5% household bleach, and then 3 quarts of plain water to round it out.
So you've got this 3-part attack. The detergent helps it stick.
The TSP cuts the grime.
And the bleach kills the actual organic growth.
That's the synergy. You apply it, let it sit for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, give it a light scrub, and rinse it all off completely.
And safety here is obviously a big deal.
Mandatory. You're using bleach and a strong chemical. You have to wear gloves and eye protection. And always, always do a spot test on a small, hidden area first.
Good call. Okay, let's shift gears from green stuff to white stuff. Hard water stains. That chalky film you see where sprinklers hit the fence.
For that general residue, you can go back to the vinegar. Just use it undiluted this time. Spray it on, let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes, and the acidity should dissolve those surface minerals.
Okay, now let's talk about tools, the big one, the pressure washer. It feels like the easy button, but it's also the fastest way to destroy a vinyl fence.
It really is. The biggest mistake is just too much power.
What's the limit?
You have to keep it between 1,500 and 2,000 psi. Maximum. Anything over 2,000 psi, and you're not cleaning the vinyl, you're physically tearing it, stretching it, damaging it permanently.
We've seen people do that. They end up needing new panels.
All the time. So pressure is number one. Number two is the nozzle.
Right. The tip you use makes a huge difference.
A mandatory difference. You can only use a 25-degree green tip or a 40-degree white tip, one of the wide-angle nozzles.
Never the red one.
Never the 0-degree red tip. That's not a cleaner. That's a cutting tool. It will slice right through the vinyl.
And the final rule is distance, right? You can't get too close.
Yes. Keep that nozzle at least 3 to 4 feet away from the fence surface. Any closer, and you risk forcing water inside the posts and rails, which completely defeats the purpose of having weather-resistant vinyl.
Okay, that's crystal clear. Let's talk about timing. Our sources lay out a whole seasonal calendar for this, tailored specifically for the Wilmington area.
Right, because our weather cycles dictate what we should be doing and when. Let's start with spring, March to May. That's your big, post-pollen, deep clean.
And what's the key preventative task for spring?
Airflow. You have to trim all your bushes, your trees, any vegetation back at least 18 inches from the fence.
18 inches. That's a lot.
It is, but it's the single best thing you can do to stop summer mold before it starts. Air needs to circulate to keep the fence dry.
Then we roll into summer, June through August, the peak of humidity.
Peak monitoring season. You have to be vigilant, especially in shady spots.
Yep.
Rinse that salt spray off more often, and definitely do an inspection right after any big summer thunderstorm.
Then comes fall, September to November. This is mostly about hurricane prep, which we'll get to in a minute.
It is. But after storm season is over and the leaves have fallen, that's when you do your last big, comprehensive cleaning of the year. Get all that accumulated salt and grime off before winter.
Which brings us to winter. December to February. Most people probably just ignore their fence then.
And they'd be missing a huge opportunity. This is a great little piece of insight from the sources.
What is it?
In Wilmington, February on average has the lowest humidity of the entire year.
Really?
Yeah, that makes it the absolute best time for a deep clean. Your cleaning solutions work better, and more importantly, the fence can dry completely. February is your secret weapon.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move into the troubleshooting section. For those really tough, baked-on coastal stains that basic cleaning just won't touch.
Let's start with those heavy salt deposits. This isn't the fresh stuff. This is the buildup that makes the vinyl look dull and feel gritty.
So what's the recipe for that?
A stronger vinegar solution. Mix 1 cup of white vinegar with 3 cups of warm water. Spray it on, let it sit for a good 10 to 15 minutes this time, and then rinse. The extra acidity is needed to break down those bonded crystals.
Okay, next problem. Rust. Those ugly reddish stains, usually from sprinklers with high iron content.
For rust, you have to use an oxalic acid-based cleaner. The most common one is Barkeeper's Friend.
Okay, and how do you use that?
You make a paste, apply it directly to the rust stain, and then you wait. But not for long. 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes max.
No more than 5. Why the strict time limit?
Because acid is still acid. If you leave it on too long, you risk yellowing or even etching the vinyl itself. You could make the problem worse.
Good to know. And the final boss of stains, that really hard, chalky, white calcium buildup.
For that, you need something like a CLR, a specific calcium and lime remover.
And I'm guessing there's a time limit on that too.
A very short one. Mix it 1-to-1 with water, apply it, and wait no more than 2 minutes. Then rinse it off immediately and thoroughly. With these stronger chemicals, speed is key.
And this seems like a good place for one more reminder about caution.
Yes, a mandatory reminder. Anytime you use the TSP mix, the Barkeeper's Friend, the CLR, you must do a spot test first, every time. Make sure it doesn't discolor your specific vinyl before you go cleaning a whole panel.
All right, let's get to our final high-stakes segment, hurricane prep. This is a reality we all deal with.
And preparation in the 72 hours before a storm is everything.
So beyond the obvious stuff, like clearing away patio furniture and grills, what is the most important fence-specific step you can take?
It's the gates. First, tighten any loose hardware. But the single most effective thing you can do, if you're able, is to remove the gates completely.
Take them right off the hinges?
Take them off and store them in the garage. A fence gate, especially a 6-foot privacy gate, acts like a giant sail in hurricane-force winds.
It catches all that force.
All of it. It creates hundreds of pounds of leverage that is trying to rip the post right out of the ground. And when that hinge post goes, it usually takes a few other panels with it. Removing the gate neutralizes that single biggest point of failure.
That's a fantastic practical tip. So the storm passes. What's the very first thing you do?
First, check for hazards like downed power lines. Then, before you clean up anything, you document. Take pictures. Lots of pictures of all the damage for your insurance claim.
Non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Then, as soon as it's safe, rinse the entire fence to get all that salt and debris off before the sun bakes it on permanently.
Okay. And at what point do you stop being a DIY hero and realize you need to call a professional? When is it time to call Scott at Port City Fence?
When the problem becomes structural. If a post is loose, if it's cracked, if it's leaning. If the fence fails, the push test.
What's the push test?
You give the fence a firm push at about shoulder height. If it wobbles significantly, you have a structural problem. That's beyond cleaning. That's when you call for an expert like Scott who can diagnose and fix that properly.
And what if the damage is widespread or involves replacing a post? That can get complicated with local rules.
It can. Replacing posts, anything involving the foundation or changing the height, almost always requires a permit in our local towns.
And that's not something a homeowner typically handles.
Not easily. That's where Lisa on our team steps in. She handles all the permit drawings in coordination with the towns. We take that whole headache off your plate.
And for insurance, they're going to want to see a licensed contractor, right?
Almost always. Most insurance carriers require a professional estimate and repair from a licensed company to process a storm damage claim.
Which brings us to our required reality check. We've given you a ton of expert advice.
But we live on the coast. And rules in Wilmington, Leland, and Brunswick County can change fast, especially around things like storm repairs.
So what's the final word?
The final word is always the official word. We keep our site updated, but always check the official resources links on the portcityfenceofwilmington.com page to see what the local town authorities require.
So the takeaway here is that a vinyl fence is an incredible long-term investment for your home.
But only if you respect what our coastal climate throws at it. A little consistent care goes a long way.
You've got the recipes and the timeline now. You know how to stay ahead of the green.
But you also know when to stop. When the problem is bigger than a scrub brush, when it's a wobble or a crack, that's your cue to call in the pros like Scott for structural work.
Exactly. If your fence is solid, you're all set to clean. But if it's wobbly or the storm left more than just dirt, Port City Fence is here to help.
Ready to start? Call us at 910-232-5453, email portcityfence@hotmail.com, or visit portcityfenceofwilmington.com to schedule your free estimate today.